their cause. And terrorism usually is not a means, it's not an end in itself. It's just a means to an end. So when you want to qualify a group, you qualify the group based on what their intent or intentions are, which is the end itself, not the means. Now, when you're talking about Boko Haram or ISWAP, they are insurgents because that is their own end. They want a territory for themselves, and they use terrorism as a means to achieving that. So they're a terrorist group, but they are insurgents. So when we talk about these people are bandits that are using the act of terrorism to achieve their aim of kidnapping people for ransom or plundering communities, attacking villages. All their intention or all what they want is money, is funds. So they are bandits, but they are terrorizing the people.
Now, how do we juxtapose that with a ruling of a federal high court sitting in Abuja earlier, late last year rather, prescribing these bandit groups as terrorists? Of course, this took some months, but it was officially gazetted by the federal government through the Office of the Attorney General. So are we now expected to call the bandits terrorists? I mean, how does that play out? Because you're saying that they're still bandits.
The issue here is that what the courts had adjudicated on is the action that they are carrying out. Because this is not a defined group. You see, it is easier for a court to say IPOB is a terrorist group because it is an association that is defined by objectives, and there are leadership, there are structure. You can easily define them as a group. So when you now classify such an organization, then anyone that associates with that organization can be said to be either be a member or aiding or abetting the advancement of such cause. Now, these guys are not structured. They don't go about under any name. They are just a bunch of criminals belonging to different camps and different groups that are operating under no name, unlike JJS, that is Jamaatul Nasir Islamic, whatever, that is the Boko Haram, and ISIS in the Islamic West African province. Those are groups that are defined by name and objectives. But these ones are a bunch of criminals.
But share data. I remember that the Abuja Division of Federal High Court did, in the ruling delivered by Milord, the Honorable Justice Taiwo, held that the activities of certain groups, they called he mentioned them specifically, or he wrote them down, Yan Bindiga and Yan Ta'ada. These are the groups that he mentioned with certain names as well. Does this not go against what you're saying?
There are certain groups at the initial stage that are operating, not that they are operating on that name, but they are classified based on maybe the name of the leader or what they choose to call themselves at that time. But we should not forget the fact that several groups had resurrected, several camps. We're talking about groups that are operating initially at Zamfara. Then we started seeing different camps within the forest of Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto. Now we're talking about almost more than half of the forest of Niger State already occupied. And there are different groups under different leaders attacking Shiroro, attacking different parts of the state. So it's not that all those groups, unlike Boko Haram, that when you see them in Yobe or you see them in Borno State or in Adamawa, they are still Boko Haram.
All right,
but these ones are different.
Okay, I mean, we spoke to Senator or former Senator Shehu Sani, who represented the good people of Kaduna Central in the National Assembly. He is no longer in the National Assembly, but I'm sure you're well aware that he's been vocal on Kaduna issues and the banditry. He says it's even gotten to the point where some of the communities that are under attack have to rely on terrorists, these terror groups, that's the major terror groups that you were talking about, to protect them from the bandits. Is that something that you find could be possible?
Well, I don't really understand that explanation, but what I understand is that this group usually approach some of these communities and say, you pay us this royalty, you pay us these taxes, then you can go to your farm and farm. When it is time for harvest, you pay us certain amount of money, then you can go and do your harvesting. For every trucks or trailers that will be leaving the community on market day, going to social places, you are going to pay us. Then you enjoy our protection. That is the understanding that I have. Now, we should not forget the fact that the attacks in October, intelligence report, and this was also reported in several media platforms, that the Boko Haram group under the ISIS sponsored, were involved in the train attack in October. They actually funded it. They provided the money. They provided the bomb experts that trained the people who carried it out, and they provided the equipment that were used for rigging the rail with explosives in October. That is a known fact, and that does not exclude them from this particular one that happened, even though no group had come out to take responsibility for the attack. But we should understand the fact that our armed forces are doing a great job right now in the Northeast. These two groups are almost decimated. The remaining bunch of them that are still there, they're actually at each other's neck right now. The ISWAP guys are attacking the Boko Haram. The Boko Haram are attacking them, fighting for survival as we speak. And right from, I think, about early last year, towards the middle of last year, there have been several reports of this guy relocating from the northeast into the northwest, most importantly, into the Niger State forest. So I will not be surprised if after following this attack, they've been able to make substantial amounts of money to reestablish their caliphate within that region. Then we'll start hearing about ISWAP now in the northwest.
All right. So you're saying that there is a possibility that these train attacks or rail attacks are not just itinerant banditry or bandit activity, that it could be coordinated, calculated terrorist activity. We're talking about terrorists on the scale of ISWAP and Boko Haram, simply because they have to have the skill to put together improvised explosive devices. Do you find that putting together these IEDs and is not something we see bandits having the skill to do, and that you probably be seeing this more with trained terrorists?
You see, I had the opportunity of being trained on IED, and I know how dangerous it is for you to put up an explosive. Many people have found themselves killed in the process, even professionals. Even in the days of General Sani Abacha, one of the military officers in the explosive ordnance group that was trying to make demonstration close to the CEC, he made a mistake and there was an explosion. So even when it is being handled by professional, by expert, there could be accident. It's not something that somebody can just, easily begin to toy with. That's why even at the beginning of the Boko Haram, they rely on experts coming from Somalia, experts coming from Sudan to come and train the insurgents in Nigeria on how to handle IED. Now, intelligence has established that there have been handshake between insurgents in the northeast and the bandits in the northwest. The handshake had been established. And we should not forget the Kankara student kidnap at that time, involving Shekau, where Shekau came on here to try to take responsibility for the kidnapping of those children. And the just kidnapping took place in Kankara in Katsina State. But the kidnapping was actually done by bandits. And Boko Haram, Shekau then tried to establish an agreement with them to transfer the ownership of those children to them under certain agreements and payment of certain sum, which eventually did not materialize because of the effort Katsina State and Zamfara State government put in place then to ensure that they were able to get those students back. Now, that was, the first clear, experience or clear situation, that established the fact that truly there have been handshakes. And we've heard of bandits sending their men to the northeast to be trained. But for the October incident, the intelligence was clear and it was public that Boko Haram sponsored that attack.
So we're seeing now, from what you're saying, sort of a cooperation between these bandit groups and Boko Haram, who are under pressure and under the cush in the northeast due to the activities of the Nigerian armed forces. You talked about funding, and you talked about there being some intelligence to indicate that this the October attack was funded by or sponsored by Boko Haram. Is it that difficult, or how difficult is it for authorities in Nigeria to follow the money and to be able to decipher who is behind what and who is sending money to who?
Well, in this part of the world, we are still very far behind in terms of financial intelligence. Our banking system and operation, there are still a lot of gaps that criminals and fraudulent people are still exploiting even today. So you can imagine the Yahoo boys are still able to move their money around into cryptocurrencies and the rest. And yet the NFIU has not been able to intercept this movement of money. That shows the extent of loopholes still within our own financial system. Now, we're not talking about people that are used to the traditional system of movement of money. Before now, terrorists globally, one of the things that they do is to hide, how they move their money. And one of the means that they use there is the Awala system. Though the Awala system is not, sorry, the Awala system is not as popular as before, but it's very, very much in use. The issue, the system of trade by barter are also still being used by those people, where they can exchange cow with weapons. I mean, for weapons. They will rustle cow, give cows to those who need cows, who have the weapons, and they take weapons from them. These guys collect their money in cash. They don't use their money to buy motorcycles. They tell the families of the victims that you are not only paying us cash for ransom, we want a specific type of motorcycles, specific number to be brought along with the money. They will tell you they want a certain number of battery packs, they want certain number of torchlights, they want certain numbers of supplies. That it is they develop a way in which they get their supplies from the same people who are the relatives of the victims in their custody. And the cash that they have with them, they are using the traditional system to move this cash around. And one of the things that have been observed and have been raised around this, even I think I've also had Senator Shehu Sani also mention issues around this, is the fact that they do not believe that the owners of this money are actually in the forest with these guys. That if you've seen the way these guys are living, the people behind these guys, they are real leaders, or the people that are helping them to sustain this operation, they don't live inside that forest with them. And until we begin to start checking a whole lot of things, and these things will not happen under the current political arrangement that we're having. When I mean political arrangement, I don't mean democracy. I mean the areas where this problem is happening. The political structures in those areas will not allow military operations to be successful as much as we want it within the period that we want it to be.
How exactly do you mean? How exactly do you mean?
Good. One thing I can tell you that if President Olusegun Obasanjo is the president today, he will declare state of emergency. And the state of emergency that he's going to declare is going to suspend the political structure in those areas. Not that it's going to remove them, not that it's going to deny them their mandate, but it's going to suspend it and allow a structure as it is expected during an emergency rule situation that will enable arrest, prosecution, and the conviction that will be done within a week or two, where justice will be served immediately.
Yeah, but
Now
Shea Adeta, I posed this question to Shehu Sani last time we had him on air, and what he said was that the situation we had when Olusegun Obasanjo was president, when we had some riots and killings in Kanu and in Jos, reprisal attacks, a religious crisis between Christians and Muslims. And of course, there was a state of emergency declared. He said, oh, there were a political undertones to that decision, but also that that particular crisis was different to what we have now. That what we have now, a state of emergency, will not necessarily make it easier for the authorities to track down the bandits or terrorists, as it were, because these guys are in the in the wild forest. You look at the large expanse of land in the northwest, you know, in Niger State, for instance, and in Kaduna State, where they are, that you don't need a state of emergency to go after these guys.
I do not agree with him in totality, and I'll give an example. There are times when, you know, just not long ago, the federal government suspended telecoms operations in some communities. It took a while before that decisions could go through, because issues around politics, fell into the midst of that decision. And at a point in time, we saw also pressure from some of the state governors that they want telecom operations to be restored. But we've forgotten the fact that the request was actually made by the military, because they needed those things to be done for them to be able to carry out certain aspects of their operations. And it took a while. It took them a lot for them to be able to convince, the political structure that it is the best action to take. Under a proper emergency rule, that won't necessarily be the case. The military will have all the leverage and the latitude that they need to carry out every action as long as it's within the law and what is within the United Nations Charter, to achieve their goals in any part of that geopolitical region that they need to liberate. Where they need to, black out telecoms is just a decision that they will take within minutes.
Yeah, share detail. Before we go, because we're out of time, Governor El-Rufai last week said that intelligence was available and was made accessible to the authorities. From what we can see, the intelligence wasn't acted on. Intelligence indicating that there was going to be an attack on within a particular period, but that intelligence wasn't acted on. And he's also called, like you heard in the introduction, for the use of mercenaries in the Northwest. Very quickly, in one or two sentences, your take on that. Very quickly, please.
Okay, first one, the issue of the trade. If those states are under emergency rule, intelligence will not be available to NRC and advising NRC to suspend night operations, and NRC will go ahead and run a train in the night. Under an emergency rule, the military dictates the space, the security agency dictates the space. Every political structure, including the political appointees, must obey what they have said. Secondly, on the issue of Governor El-Rufai's call for the mercenaries, he's the governor. He's beyond his power, is beyond his position to bring mercenaries into the country. If mercenaries are going to be brought into the country, it's a decision that will be made at the federal level, and the only person who can authorize that, with the understanding of National Assembly, is the president. So if he feels that that is the solution, then he needs to meet with the National Security Advisor and also the head of the military, have a good conversation with them, and not the kind of mercenaries like the one that he claimed to have settled, gave them money to prevent killing.
Shea Adeta, we have to go, but we have to go. I think you've answered that question. There's a lot to ask. I hope we have you back soon so we can look at some other issues, including the use of drones and other technology to safeguard the rail track. Shea Adeta has been a guest. He's a security consultant, and we've been talking security in the nation. Shea, thanks for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. My pleasure is mine.
Thanks for staying with us right here on Plus Politics. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the presidency has responded to the People's Democratic Party governors who described President Buhari's performance as poor. This is up for discussion when we return.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Welcome back. The presidency has slammed the governors of the People's Democratic Party over their comments on the performance of the Buhari-led government. The PDP Governors Forum had taken a swipe at the APC's performance, saying the APC-led federal government had meted out hardship on Nigerians. They also said the PDP was ready to take over and offer qualitative leadership. But reacting to the PDP's verdict, the presidency, in its response, said the main opposition party sought to cover up its alleged criminal failures and damaging period in office, as the APC put it, which Buhari's administration had to repair. Also, the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party hailed former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Pastor Enoch Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, for their statements over the insecurity in the country. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said the APC regime, as you heard us just talk about, had been overwhelmed by insecurity. Pastor Adeboye, on his part, said he was unsure if the 2023 general elections will take place, as he expressed shock over the bombing of a train or rail track in Jos. Now, joining us to talk about this is PDP's Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Ibrahim Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, good evening to you. Thanks for your time.
Very much, my brother. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so just walk us through what exactly the People's Democratic Party's Governors Forum is saying about the Buhari-led federal government.
Well, the forum is talking about the unprecedented disappointment in administration that has come to characterize President Buhari's administration since 2015. No one would have agreed that a day will come in Nigeria where everyone will be living in fear and perpetual misery, like it has come to be the case. If you look at this country today, we have finally degenerated to that Probacean state of nature where life is nasty, brutish, solitary, and short. Maybe he had Nigeria in mind when Thomas Hobbes was talking about state of nature. Today, there seems to be no authority in place. Nobody is in check. Nobody has the understanding of even what power is about. Nigerians have come to accept every day as it comes, as a true situation of life, because they seem to have come to terms with the fact that nobody is in control. The center can no longer hold. The nation is in disarray. The security architecture has failed. The economy has crumbled. Virtually everything that makes life worthy of being called life is no longer in Nigeria. Nigerians have lost hope completely. And they are not even looking at it from the point of redemption. They have finally accepted that only divine miracle could save the country. But it is sad, it's unfortunate. We have come to find ourselves in a one chance bus. These people who came and assured us that they were going to provide the solution that Nigeria badly needed in 2015. Nigeria was the fastest growing economy, if you recall, in Africa, and the third fastest in the world as at 2015 when these people came. I find it difficult to come to terms with the adjectives that come to my mind if I come to describe them. But as far as one can foresee, they have themselves admitted from their action and inaction that they have not only failed, that they have disappointed Nigeria beyond leaps and bounds. And you could see the shame permeating all over, following them from nooks and crannies. So the Governors Forum came up with a communique where it's talking about the inflation, spreading inflation, which has combined with administrative incompetence to reduce even the quality of life of Nigerians. And it is sad, it is unfortunate. So what the forum is talking about is the reality that you and I are facing and this doom that is staring us in the face every other day.
All right, you've talked about, the sorry state of the Nigerian economy. You've talked about, how the All Progressives Congress has led Nigeria sort of to the doldrums. But some would argue that this began when the PDP was in power. The current economic crisis, about if you take out COVID-19, you take out maybe some of the wrong policies or inefficiencies of this government, that the genesis of the financial crisis in Nigeria started when the PDP held sway as the ruling party in Nigeria. And we can go back to, the statements of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala from 2014, Mr. Abdullahi, some of which I'm looking at right now. She came up with the belt-tightening statement, saying that there was a need to adopt belt-tightening policies to plug leakages and try to increase revenue, because of the drop in revenue and the drop in oil prices. So what do you say to this? That this current economic crisis with having in Nigeria, and especially with the recession, started before the PDP left?
I think the way to understand all of these things for a layman who is out there in the street is to break the economic situation of the country from a micro perspective. If you recall the price of petroleum, first kerosene, let's talk about kerosene, which is a requirement in virtually majority of the homes of Nigerians. Kerosene was selling at 180 naira as opposed to 450 that it is today. 12.1 kg of cylinder of gas was selling at 2,400 as at 2015. It is now 8,000 and 10,000 in some places. This bag of rice, and I must add, this is one area that these people have successfully, deceived Nigerians in the years from 2015 to now, that they are back in the farm, that they have produced in surplus. Yet, the price of this staple has skyrocketed beyond the reach of a common man. In fact, it has hit rooftops, and you cannot even begin to comprehend how people survive in this country. This same bag of rice, for example, sold at 8,000 in 2015. It is now 39,000 if you can find it. Electricity, which is a necessity in every home, was 14.23 per kilowatt in 2015. It is now 38, and in some places 40, and it's not even available. Unemployment rate was 11.4% in 2015, and today you can imagine what figure it is. The poverty rate was 11.3%, and now it is 42%. I mean, everything, inflation in the country in 2015 was just 4%. Today it is 15.5, almost 16%. So what indices, what is the parameter for these people measuring their success?
Mr. Abdullahi, are you denying that Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said in 2013, 2014 that Nigeria's economy was shaky and the Nigerians needed to brace themselves for hard times? I just want to go to a report by the Premium Times from 2000. This is This is from 2013. It's just a 3-minute read, but I won't read it all, waste your time, by Ogechi Ikea Iyamu of the Premium Times, where it says, and I quote, on Monday, June 10, at the third round of the 2013 ministerial platform in Abuja, Coordinating Minister for the Economy and Minister of Finance Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala spoke glowingly about the Nigerian economy, saying the fundamentals were strong and that the economy was buoyant beyond danger. But a few hours later, on Tuesday, when all the doors were closed, the paper says, the minister sang a different tune. She told her colleagues in government, point blank, the Nigerian economy is shaky despite the official fundamentals and that drastic steps are needed to be taken to save it from collapse, is what she said. So what would you say to this? And then we move on to the year 2014, where she actually now said that there was a looming economic meltdown and Nigerians needed to adopt what she called belt tightening policies. So are you denying that all these things were said by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala at the time, 2013, 2014?
I will respond by asking you a question. And that question is, are we better off today? If she said that, are you now saying that it's connected to the situation that we are truly in today?
I'm asking you, sir, and I won't allow you to turn the tables on me. I asked the question which you haven't answered. I know how it works.
Last time
are you denying, are you saying that these facts are not true?
She could have stated these fears in 2014 and earlier than that. Actually, to appreciate the need for government at that time to beef up and to sit up over the responsibility before it. But let me say very clearly, these people came with the assurances that they were going to fix the problems. They went every corner, every nook, assuring Nigerians that they were the only ones with the capacity. And the person of Mr. President is the best thing after Jesus Christ that would happen to Nigeria. And all Nigeria needed to have all its problems fixed was to get that man in power. Today, even his own party faithfuls, like we have listened recently from Governor El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi, and very many who have come sincerely to admit that there's failure in administration, that there is gross incapacity. But it didn't take us that long for us to know. The first 3 months, in fact, before he resumed office, we knew that they were foisting on Nigeria a person who is devoid of integrity, devoid of capacity, the one that lacks even the understanding of what contemporary democratic politics and global economy is about. A person who has held on to the Ministry of Petroleum in addition to his being the president, and petroleum went all-time high in the history of Nigeria. A person who claimed that he was a general in the military. I say claim because he has not been able to marry action, his words with action. A person who has come and multiplied the security problems and economic doldrums that he has taken Nigeria into. A person who has killed the dreams of Nigeria. A person who has brought inflation to all-time high. A person who seems not to even understand what civility. Look at these people. When they are not stealing, robbing, and plundering the wealth of the nation, they go ahead blackmailing and using vendetta and blackmail against people who have brought Nigeria.
Are you there, sir? If you're watching, if you can hear me, Mr. Abdullah, I think it's not be fair to say these particular individuals from the Buhari administration that you pointed out actually said the government has failed. Because I listened to them. You mentioned Rotimi Amechi and another individual, I think it was El-Rufai. But they didn't necessarily say the federal government as a whole has failed. Are you there, sir? All right, we sincerely apologize for the network issues, but of course, we're still looking at the statement made about a fortnight ago by the People's Democratic Party and its governors forum regarding the security situation, or the economic situation rather, in the country, and indeed the security situation in the country as well. And they have said that the APC-led federal government has failed and is a failure and is not fit to contest the next election. However, of course, the federal government has also had its say in response to what the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has been saying about their performance as far as leading Nigeria is concerned. And they've also said, the APC and the federal government, that the PDP didn't do any better in its time in charge of the country? And of course, these are questions that I was hoping Mr. Abdullahi, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, will be able to answer. Mr. Abdullahi, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You said that the likes of Rotimi Amechi and co. have said that the federal government has failed, but I believe that that's not what they said. If we were to be fair to Amechi and other members of this administration, they didn't categorically come out to say that the federal government under Buhari has failed.
Well, they may not use my language directly, but the import of what they have said. And this will not be the first time Governor El-Rufai will be admitting that they are responsible for this high level of insecurity in the country. This will not be the first time. Even preceding the 2019 election, just a journey of 2 years between 2019 and 2015 to 2019, El-Rufai has admitted the gross incapacity of the person of the president. And it has been corroborated severally by the late Minister of Women Affairs, Aisha Ismail. It has also been affirmed by Governor Rotimi Amechi, now Minister of Transportation. These people themselves have come to accept that the worst thing Nigeria will have is that president of APC and the government of APC in place, because it has only succeeded in inflicting problems, pain, anguish, and penury on Nigerians, as opposed to coming, to address their plight.
But Mr. Abdullahi, what the statement by Garba Shehu, mediator to the president, is released a statement saying that what the APC has been trying to do is to repair the damage caused by the People's Democratic Party in its 16 years of ruling Nigeria.
What will you expect from a Garba Shehu who speaks from both sides of his mouth? A Garba Shehu who has lost credibility the very minute he started.
Yeah, but can we stick to the issue he raised? Do you disagree that the PDP?
You brought his name here.
Yes. No, but he's saying what he was saying, Mr. Abdullahi. If you would allow me, sir, to ask you the question, sir. What he was saying is that
look at the person, the messenger bringing the message, not the person, not the message that is brought.
No. I want us to dwell on his response, sir, please. He's saying, Mr. Abdullahi, can you hear me, please? Yes. Garba Shehu is saying that the APC has been trying to repair the damage the PDP inflicted on Nigeria in the 16 years of ruling. He's talking about things like corruption. He's talking about things like insecurity, and misrule. He's saying 16 years of damage, he calls it. So what's your response to that? Did the PDP inflict Nigeria with 16 years of damage, like Garba Shehu says?
I thought these problems in question are problems these people say they were going to fix within 6 months. Whether insecurity.
So are you agreeing with him?
How could I imagine doing that? Garba Shehu statement is the same statement that APC has been telling Nigeria: lies, falsehood, fabrication, denial. People who have refused to accept that they are the worst government that humanity has seen. People who have deluded themselves into believing that they have the capacity, but they have seen every other passing hour that they are not only lacking the capacity, that even the credibility and sincerity that is expected of a leader is completely.
But he's saying that I want to read some of the statement, some part of the statement from the Garba Shehu. He says that, quote, we cannot forget, under the PDP, the nation had an army full of phantom soldiers whose pay went to PDP politicians' pockets, while our under-resourced real soldiers died in the fight against terrorist insurgents, and our international allies refused to supply kit and military aid. He says, it continues by saying, today, with the APC, the army is resourced. We have fighter jets from our partners. Boko Haram is being driven from every inch of the Nigerian territory, and ISWAP's leader is eliminated in a Nigerian airstrike. What are your thoughts on that? That the army was ill-equipped and the pay for soldiers was going to the pockets of politicians?
Let me ask you a question in responding. Since you came to this country and lived in this country, have you heard where the military will vacate its point of duty and run away like we have seen between 2015 and 2019.
Well, I was born in this country, so I think I'll take my time back to Dan. But he's saying that it happened under your administration, and he's talked about, for instance, the equipping of the army, that they were ill-equipped, and we have the records to show that you had military protests and mutiny and all that.
I think the most important thing that should engage us is not what Garba Shehu, who has suddenly become the drum beater. I think we should be talking about the reality on ground. And you and I are faced by these realities increasingly day in, day out. If your street, from where you are working now, from your office to your place of work, is as secured as it was in 2015, I leave it to you. If the airport, this is the first time, let me remind you, that a train would be bombed. And that was a statement of Obasanjo during the background. I heard you say something about that, which got the commendation of even the publicity of the party. This is the first time throughout my living on earth that a train will be bombed on the track.
But the Obasanjo you're calling tore his PDP membership card because of the failures of your party at the time.
Could PDP be responsible for this high level of insecurity? That is the question I'm asking.
But will the PDP do any better?
I have not seen this thing in my entire life, not even in Nigeria, not even in Somalia.
Okay. All right. Ms. Abdullah, I'm afraid we have to call it a day. I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and hope to have you soon again on Plus Politics. And that's so much you can take on the program tonight. Of course, we've had Ibrahim Abdullahi, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thanks for staying with us. We'll round up today's show with Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo speaking on the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train. And Kofi Bitel's Plus Politics returns with a very interesting edition tomorrow.
The federal government has condemned the Kaduna-Abuja train attack by terrorists, calling it barbaric. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who cut short his earlier engagement in Lagos to visit the site of the attack, said the government was doing everything possible to end insurgency. In company of the Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, the Vice President proceeded to see victims of the attack at 44 Army Reference Hospital and St. Gerald Hospital.
It is evident that there is no, it's not as if there's any real benefit, even for them. So we remain resolute in our commitment to ensuring that these sorts of things are prevented and that as quickly as possible services are restored and that the type of safety measures that are required are put in place. We've been round to see some of the victims of a very tragic incident, but and many of them, of course, are recovering very well. And we're very happy to see that the state government has taken on the responsibility of medical assistance to them and ensuring that they're comfortable and that they're well. And the federal government will support in every possible way to ensure that these people who just, innocent people just traveling from Kaduna to Abuja, just doing their regular business, are assaulted in a cowardly way in the dead of night, and late at night. I think it's condemnable, and we must all condemn it and resolve to ensure that these sorts of things do not happen again.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Lucky Irabo, and the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali, also visited the scene of the deadly attack.
This is dastardly acts, and I'd like to assure you that those behind it will not go unpunished. Currently, the men are on their chase, and they will certainly pay the price.
Meanwhile, the figure of those kidnapped is still sketchy, as family members of those on board the train besieged the station in a search.
It's a very tragic situation now. I'm not the only one here. If you check around, you can see that there are a lot of people waiting for maybe they'll be able to get any relevant information concerning the incident. And up to now.
And so far, there is no information from the train manager.
They are not giving us any information. That is the issue. They are not talking to us. They are keeping all their this thing to themselves.
Spirituals, gospels, and blues informed Alvin Ailey's dance movements. Ailey was raised in poverty by a single mother in segregated Texas. His upbringing informed his choreography, a blend of modern dance and ballet, speaking to the Black experience. Using archival footage, filmmaker Jamila Wignot explores the influences behind Ailey's creative genius in her documentary, Ailey.
I really wanted to come at it in the way that Mr. Ailey came at it, and that was about, let's acknowledge that there is pain and struggle in this story, but let's also look at what are the essential things that keep us going, and where are the strengths, and what is true to the everyday experiences of being in this particular community.
Identity was a strong message. Being able to say through the choreography, I am, was a very, very important theme that ran through the dances.
Wignot explains how Alvin Ailey's dance creation, entitled Revelations, expressed the communal joy Black people felt through dancing the night away and worshiping at church the morning after.
He wanted for every kind of audience to be able to come to a theater and experience a human story in the bodies of these people. And I think that's when Mr. Ailey talks about his work being universal.
His dance, entitled Cry, was dedicated to his mother and to motherhood at large.
The Black women who would encourage you, who would be there always, who were so supportive, that you could not fail.
What he's really trying to access and draw upon are these kind of women who have been the strength of a community, and certainly in his own life, being raised by a single mother for the vast majority of his youth.
Wignot hopes the documentary offers insight into Ailey's inner psyche as a prolific choreographer of 72 dance works, as an aloof individual, and as a gay African-American who did not allow himself into permanent relationships.
He has this kind of heroic quality to him, as well as these real human struggles.
Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
My name is Adeyemi Shoroye. Here is my good old days story. I was born in Ibadan to the family of Adekunle and Folashade Shoroye, both of blessed memory. I had my early childhood at Ayonide Street, Ekotedo, popularly known as Ekotedo Iyaolobe. Two things struck me about my good old days, which I will share here. First, my primary school was at St. Luke's Demonstration School, Molete, Ibadan. Ekotedo to Molete was quite some distance, but at a very tender age, I will follow my elder siblings from Ekotedo to Molete, hopping from one bus to another, sometimes trekking part of the distance till we reach Molete, No fear of kidnappings or molestation. In fact, safety was never an issue. Life was generally peaceful. We would leave home after a meal of hot rice, beans and dodo, bought from Iyatewo's makeshift canteen, the popular Mama Put seller down the road. Leave for school between 6:45 to 7 a.m. and after dropping from one bus to another, we would arrive school around 8:15 a.m. and the return journey would be equally peaceful. There were some days when we would spend part of the transport money and trek some parts of the journey. It was so enjoyable. Our parents didn't have to fear nor worry about our safety. Life was peaceful and safe. Those were the days of fountain pens with ink and blotting paper. I recall there were special holes in our desks where the ink containers were fixed. You must be an exceptional student to have come home daily without soiling your school uniform with inks. Those were days when teaching good handwriting meant a lot to our teachers. Today, text messages have taken over. The other thing that struck me about my good old days was the spirit of communal living. You see, in our house, we lived upstairs as landlords, and we had some Igbo families living downstairs as tenants, where you hardly tell who was a tenant's child or who was a landlord's child. We were all the same. In fact, some of the Igbos who were born about the same time as me spoke Yoruba fluently, to the extent that Stephen, my age mate, wrote Yoruba as a subject in his WAEC and passed with flying colors. Yes, there was no discrimination of any sort. We all lived together as a happy family, irrespective of tribe or tongue. On Saturdays, we would go to Scala Cinema in Sabo to watch mostly Indian and Chinese films. Sabo, the Hausa community in Ibadan, is a short trekkable distance from Ekotedo, where I equally made some friends among those Hausa children of my age group, majority of whom were still friends till today. What a glorious childhood. Can Nigeria still go back to that old days when our children will be safe on their own? And we don't need to worry about child kidnappings or molestation. Can Nigeria still go back to that old days where tribe and tongue will be inconsequential? Can Nigeria still go back to those wonderful days when you were not defined by religion or religious affiliations? Can Nigeria still be a nation where merit is more valued as a determinant to your success than your place of birth? Yes, our nation can still rise above those primordial sentiments. We can. I believe with good governance, those days will come again. As I round up, strongly resonating in my mind is our first national anthem, which said, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. We can still recreate a nation where Nigerians all will be proud to serve our sovereign motherland. I am a believer. To this end, I join Sashimore Badejo in this collective drive towards a greater tomorrow. Thank you very much and God bless.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Good evening. I am Adebanke Odunoi, and this is the news update. President Muhammadu Buhari has credited Nigeria's rising prominence as Africa's fertilizer powerhouse to the implementation of the right policies by the present administration. The president acknowledged this while receiving the Executive Committee of Fertilizer Producers and Suppliers Association of Nigeria, FEPSAN, at the State House, Abuja, on Tuesday. The president said that this remarkable achievement in a very short period of time had ensured a steady flow of investment to the sector from the private sector, bringing prosperity to millions of Nigerians and good returns to the investors. Meanwhile, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele said fertilizer remained a key input to achieving food security, and in realization of this, the Apex Bank had continued to place great importance on its availability and accessibility by farmers to improve yield, productivity, and ultimately output. At the Jigawa Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has confirmed 7 persons dead in the fire outbreak that engulfed a petrol station at Al-Masfa in Kaugama local government area of Jigawa. Adamu Shehu, the Command Public Relations Officer, who confirmed the incident in Duse on Tuesday, said the incident occurred on Monday at 5 p.m. He said the fire engulfed a building which serves as administrative block and accommodation to the station's personnel. Unfortunately, some of the victims were sleeping, and as a result of this, 6 of the victims died on the spot, while 1 gave up the ghost at the hospital. Shehu explained that it took the combined efforts of the Corps, fire service, and other security personnel to put off the raging fire, which cause is yet to be ascertained. At least no fewer than 11 soldiers are feared killed by suspected terrorists in a military base at Benin Gwari local government area of Kaduna State. A resident whose brother was among the soldiers killed by terrorists told our correspondent on Tuesday. It was gathered that the terrorists in large numbers on motorcycles stormed the Polwire village where they engaged the soldiers on Monday. And the Association of Licensed Telecommunication Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, says its members will comply with the federal government's directive barring outgoing calls of subscribers who have yet to link their national identification number (NIN) with their SIM cards. The association made this known in a statement jointly signed by its chairman Gbenga Adebayo and head of operations Gbolahan Awonuga. The deadline handed Nigerians by the federal government to link their NIN to their SIMs ended on March 31st after about 8 postponements. At the last minute, government pushed for the linkage and on Friday directed Nigerians to ensure they complete the verification and linkage of their NINs to their SIMs within days. The People's Democratic Party PDP crisis in Anambra State has deepened with the suspension of its acting chairman, Oke Asolo, for allegedly insulting Chris Uba. The acting chairman's suspension was contained in a statement in Awka on Tuesday, signed by Obinna Obialo and Obinna Obichinyere, chairman and secretary of the party in Ward 13 Onitsha North, respectively. The party said anybody that insults its leaders like Uba would not go unscathed. The suspension of Asolo followed a letter he signed last week suspending Uba and Linus Ukachukwu for alleged anti-party activities. And Osun State government says it is committed to the health of all residents. Special Advisor on Public Health, Dr. Siju Olamiju, said this in Osogbo at a deliberation on the digitalization of medical records and reduction of maternal deaths in the state. Dr. Olamiju said the state government is partnering Hasty Health Initiative in digitizing medical records and data collection, explaining that the state will soon attain the leading position in the country's health sector. One of the partners, Dr. Keith Hanna, said the technology will collect, read and analyze data from the primary, secondary and tertiary health institutions. Meanwhile, Executive Director of HHI, Ms. Rhoda Robinson, said that the digital health program would improve the working conditions of healthcare providers in the state.
It is an initiative that will actually strengthen our data capturing and data management system in the state, which is actually centering on the maternal and child health, antenatal care and maternal cases in the state. And it is a welcome idea. You know, Mr. Governor has said that our hands are open to any organization, individual, or whether corporate, to who wants to, extend hands of fellowship to us, to, engender quality health for the citizenry of the state of Osun.
So we're excited to bring digital interventions to Osun State, and we're looking to reduce maternal mortality, but also cut across different verticals such as malaria nets, immunization. No other programs, digital programs, are able to cut across these different verticals. And we've just heard how important that is in Osun State. So we hope to do this.
Digital health solution focused on supporting the state in managing maternal health data in primary health facilities across the state. So today we've been in a lengthy discussion with the state on how best we can work together to ensure that this digital solution works for everyone in the state and is adaptable and meets the needs of the state.
As power supplies continues to get worse, Nigerians speak out in anger. And that's on Street Views. Let's take a listen.
I burn generator from almost on daily basis. I mean, by the time I calculate the money I spend for fuel on daily basis, and I honestly tell myself the truth that this power issue is something else. It's really dealing with us Nigerians.
This thing is affecting so many companies. My daughter has a company. I know how many fuel we run every day. People that cannot afford such, they end up packing up and going to other countries. Can I say in a month we'll have like 3 times? Is that power supply? So every day I burn fuel. Every day I buy fuel 2,000 in my house. It's very ridiculous. We are being cheated. There is no light. I live at Ikoyi. They don't give us light. Like 3 times a week, and it's about 2 to 3 hours, and it's gone. There is money in this country, but we don't know where the money is going to. No water, no light, no good roads. What can we do? It's affecting me. It's affecting me. See me as I'm sweating. If I bath finish like this, I begin sweating. In the evening, sweating. Midnight, sweating. All my children, they are sick now. No lights, and they are still bring the bill. Where is the money? And now, the bill is high. What are we using? Fan, television. So it's finished. I'm fit. I'm not using the oven. I'm not using washing machine. And they are bringing crazy bill. For what? And no light. We are suffering from this Nigeria.
There is no light in my area. No single light. But we are paying for light, but we never see light. Sometimes, once in 2 weeks. Sometimes you will not even see it.
And in other parts of Africa, a former militia leader in Sudan has denied committing war crimes against humanity as his landmark hearing opened at the International Criminal Court. 72-year-old Ali Mohammed Ali Abdal Rahman is accused of leading thousands of pro-government fighters on a systematic campaign of murder, rape and torture during the height of violence in the Darfur region of Sudan between 2003 and 2004. He is alleged to have been a feared and revered commander of the Janjaweed militia deployed alongside Sudanese government forces to carry out a brutal counter-insurgency campaign after a rebellion against Khartoum by some local communities, leaving at least 300,000 people dead and displaced 2.5 million according to the UN. The trial is the first at the International Criminal Court to deal with the Darfur conflict, and campaigners have said it shows that no impunity exists even for crimes committed nearly 2 decades ago. And South Africa has suspended its COVID-19 containment plan 750 days after it was implemented. President Cyril Ramaphosa said the measure was due to a drop in the number of infections. He said the COVID relief fund was to remain in place for the time being, as well as certain precautionary measures such as wearing masks indoors. These regulations were to be phased out after a 1-month transition period. So far, 44% of the adult population had been fully vaccinated. According to the latest official figures, South Africa had 685 new daily infections and 2 deaths on Monday. And outside Africa, Swedish Foreign Minister Ann Linde has said Sweden will expel 3 Russian diplomats for spying, joining a number of European countries which have expelled Russian diplomats in recent days. The moves coincide with outrage across the continent over reports of the discovery of mass graves and of civilian killings in the Ukrainian town of Bucha, following the retreat of Russian soldiers conducting what Moscow calls its special operation in Ukraine. France, Belgium, and the Netherlands have recently expelled Russian diplomats over alleged spying activity. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has denied any accusations related to the murder of civilians, including in Bucha. And President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine has no option but to negotiate with Russia to end fighting, but that he and Russian President Vladimir Putin might not personally hold talks. Zelensky was speaking after accusing Russian troops of carrying out extrajudicial killings in the town of Bucha, west of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said the reports of civilian killings in Bucha were fakes aimed at discrediting Russia. Moscow said it would present empirical evidence to a meeting of the United Nations Security Council on Tuesday, proving its forces were not involved. He said the events in Bucha were unforgivable, but Ukraine and Russia should take the difficult option of pursuing talks and signaled that Moscow should recognize what its troops were alleged to have done. And in business news, the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, says the country's renewable energy and energy efficiency sector has continued to grow rapidly, thereby heightening the need for a skilled workforce to support the sector. Aliyu spoke at the Energize First Career Fair for the clean energy sector on Tuesday in Lagos. The fair was organized by the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Association Alliance in collaboration with the Nigerian Energy Support Program NESP, European Union, and the German government. He said the growth of the renewable energy sector had heightened the need for a skilled workforce that would help support the strengthening of power and energy access initiatives of the government, sector actors, and partners. An increased energy price in Europe, aggravated by the escalating Russia-Ukraine conflict, has exerted huge pressure on the industry power Germany and may deal a heavy blow to the country's economy if it continues to go up. This is according to data released by Germany's Federal Statistical Office at the end of March, which indicated that prices of gas and electricity jumped 256.5% year-on-year. The German Council of Economic Experts, GCEE, on Wednesday slashed its economic growth forecast for Germany in 2022 from 4.6% to 1.8%. The Association of Energy Consumers is a non-profit, politically independent consumer interest organization with over 13,000 members, mostly energy consumers, households, and small business. And as a news update, for more stories, please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Adebanke Odunui. Thank you for watching.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
According to Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora, about 18 states in the Federation are still endemic, with more than 1,000 new leprosy cases yearly. He explained that the number of new leprosy cases detected yearly has significantly dropped from over 7,827 in 1994 to less than 2,000 in 2020. The Voice of Humanitarian Aid's Foundation took to the streets to march against the ostracization of people affected by leprosy and loud about changing the narrative. At her office, the National Coordinator of Voice of Humanitarian Aid, Franca Emekobum, shared the group's experiences on the field with people affected by leprosy.
Even we that are even speaking up for them, sometimes, it wasn't easy for our families and our friends to even accept, that what we are doing is not risky. They are even afraid to come close to me. They're scared. Initially they say, "Oh no, we don't want you and this your leprosy people, please."
Franca maintained that discriminating against the people with leprosy in itself is a deadly disease.
Already they are in pain. Already they are in sorrow. We should not add to that sorrow by discriminating against them. Rather, we should, come together as, people of God, one nation, one love, one family.
Dr. Yohen Akase is the head of infectious diseases at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth. He confirmed that leprosy is not contagious.
With leprosy, the truth of the matter is that over 90% of people, in fact, that's a conservative estimate to be honest, but over 90% of people who get exposed to leprosy are not going to have leprosy. Okay? So yes, it's not such a contagious infectious disease in the context of how we look at contagion, that if somebody has leprosy, touches you, you're going to get leprosy. In fact, it's well known that there are a certain, for lack of a better word, genetic predispositions to getting, not everybody is going to get leprosy, even if they get exposed to that. Picking somebody who has already had a deformity at that time to keep him isolated, apart from the fact that it's not interrupting the chain of transmission, it has, like you said, it entrenches the concept of stigma, denies them of being productive, being rehabilitated and getting on with their lives, living a normal life as possible. And also, generally, just doesn't achieve much, to be honest.
Jim Mohammed is a survivor of leprosy. He was affected at the age of 19 when he gained admission into Ahmadu Bello University, but could not continue his studies.
That was 1999, the first time I just detected that I got a leprosy, because I don't even know that it's a leprosy before. I was just told that I have some patches in my body
which I was just thinking that it's just be a ringworm. They are calling it a las egedomi. And I went to some people that are selling the herbs that, okay, I need the herbs for this thing, and they give it to me and I'm using it. After using it, I don't even see any changes. That is why my mom just took me to one herbalist, which we are calling Babalawo, and the man just said that this one is leprosy.
The father of 3 recalled how he battled with discrimination.
During that time, I have some challenges with some maybe neighbors, even in where I'm living with my mom. One of the person that, the owner of the house, because we rented that house by then, we just said that, this one, we have to take it outside because his father has house. Definitely you should go to his father's house. Don't let me lie to you. My faith is not solid by then. Because I was just thinking, asking God, why me?
The survivor is the chairman of the Association of People Affected with Leprosy and the PRO of the national body. He is particular about ensuring that nobody with leprosy ends up as a beggar on the streets.
Nigerian female artists have shown growth and made a remarkable impact in their music careers. The process of thriving, staying relevant and consistent with music hits in the Nigerian industry that is so competitive is not as easy as its female artists make them seem. The following artists, in no particular order, have worked hard for their career success, which in turn has then made them top favorites. First off on the list is Tiwa Savage. Tiwa Savage, also known as Mommy Jam Jam, was already a major success by the time her debut Once Upon a Time arrived in 2013. She continued releasing hits throughout the following decade and expanded her global reach, performing at international festivals and venues and appearing on the 2019 soundtrack The Lion King: The Gift. With releases like her 2020 Cecilia and of course the latest 2021 Water and Gary EP, her sound grew to incorporate vintage Afrobeat influences, while her lyrics have become more socially conscious and female empowering. I mean, people can't seem to get enough of her most recent 2021 music hits featuring iconic American female artist Brandy, titled Somebody's Son.
Somebody's son, go find me one day. I don't dare wait, don't stay too far away. One day, somebody's son, go love me one day. I don't dare wait, don't stay too far away. One day,
Coming in at number 2 on the list is Mama Africa, as Yemi Alade is popularly known, which obviously can be argued was derived from her flamboyant display of African fashion she has consistently stuck to throughout her career. I mean, in 2016, she was named brand ambassador for African Fashion Week Nigeria and African Fashion Week London, respectively. But away from fashion, she is a Nigerian Afro-pop singer and songwriter who emerged in 2009 as the winner of the popular Pig Talent Show. After the Pig competition, she released her debut single Fimisile later that year. A deal with the Efizi Music Group yielded the 2013 international massive hit song Johnny. With over 138 million views on YouTube alone and counting, which was included on her debut album King of Queens in 2014. A mix of reggae, R&B, rap and Afropop, the album featured a number of collaborations between notable producers and guest artists like Fino and of course Chidima. Her follow-up album Mama Africa was released in 2016 and featured the singles Do As I Do and Ferrari. A companion EP, Mama Afrique, followed in 2017, and to be very honest, she has not slowed down ever since in her music journey of conquering Africa with her indigenous sound till this very moment.
when my money no they complete, when my rising no get me so, when my life no they jolly, but now.
Number 3 is Tenny. Nigerian singer and songwriter Tenny is known for uplifting, stylistically eclectic songs that stand apart from her Afro-pop contemporaries. She first came into prominence in 2018 when a series of songs, including Case, found a streaming audience numbering in the millions. Her debut EP, Billionaire, followed in 2019. She signed with Magic Finger Records to release her first song, Amen, in 2016. Moving to Dr. Dollar's Entertainment in the following year, her second track, Virgin, found a broader audience, and the year 2018 brought mainstream hits like Case and, of course, the very likable Uyomeyo. She presented her first EP, Billionaire, in 2019 and was nominated for a BET Awards for Best New International Act and an MTV Europe Music Award for Best African Act. Still with Dr. Dollar, Tenny teamed up with DJ Neptune on the next year's The Quarantine Playlist EP.
Wanna make love on the moon, dancing to my tunes. Easy too much, it's not too much. I wanna be on fourth list, if wishes were horses. Easy too much, it's not too much.
Coming in as number 4, Tems is a Nigerian Alte R&B singer, songwriter, and record producer. She is what you can refer to as the new kid on the block, but with a massive success. Since 2018, local hits like Mr. Rebel, Try Me, and of course the striking EP for Broken Ears have earned her prominence from within Nigeria's Alte scene, alternative music and fashion subculture that has both chaffed against and filtered with the mainstream. Now, the stunning global One in a Million blow-up Rich of Essence featuring Wizkid has been nothing but transformative for Tems' career. Tems also appeared on Certified Lover Boy, the Drake album. Yes, the American rapper Drake. Tems featured on Drake's album that has topped the US and UK charts this month on the song Fountains.
I don't know why you're the one. Turn me out of my mind. You don't need no other body. You don't need no other body.
And finally, coming as number 5 is Simi. Simi is an award-winning Nigerian female music artist with years of experience under her belt. Her professional music career started in 2008, following the release of her first debut studio album titled Ogaju in 2008, which contains songs like Iya Temi and Araele, with the entire musical production from Sam Clef. In 2016, Simi released an EP with Fowls titled Chemistry and followed it up in September of 2017 with her very own sophomore album Simi Sola, which was a hit, making it at number 5 on Billboard World Music Charts.
The album also debuted at number 1 on both Apple Music and iTunes charts and held that position for 3 weeks.
Apart from staying steady on her game as a singer and songwriter, she can also be credited with mixing and mastering her now husband Adekunle Gold's debut studio album, Gold.
Shall we get assignment? But you no pay attention to the intimidation she dey face. No be like water. You don't get anything.
Welcome to Timeless Conversations. This is the very first edition of the program, and it's such a privilege for me that my first guest is someone with whom I have this very personal relationship. A great performer he is, a leader, an icon, someone who at the very tender age of between 13 and 14 formed his own band. This man has put so much into the music industry in Nigeria. He's turning 79. That means he has spent close to 63 years performing. My guest is a member of the Federal Republic, someone who has mentored great numbers of young, aspiring, and successful musicians. Please welcome with me, Chief Commander Ebenezer Obey. Ebenezer Obey began his professional career in the mid-1950s after moving to Lagos. After tutelage under Fatai Rolling Dollars Band, he formed a band called the International Brothers in 1964, playing high life and juju fusion. The band later metamorphosed into Inter-Reformers in the early 1970s with a long list of juju album hits on the Decca West Africa music label. Though he did not create the juju music style, Ebenezer Obey has been a seminal force in reinventing what has become part of Nigeria's national sound. Well, sir, I know that everybody calls you evangelist now, but we're going deep into music. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Lego.
Yes, sir. It's good to see you, and I see that you're looking very healthy.
It's my pleasure to see you too.
Yes, sir. It's really, really nice to see you. I want us to go back to Idogo.
Okay.
That's your roots.
Yes.
What was it like growing up in Idogo?
Well, I think I would like to put the whole story of my life in order. You are right to talk about Idogo being my root. But I want to say that both my parents, my father and my mother, they are from Abeokuta. My father is from KC, Abeokuta. They call us Omulakisi, Omorula Shika. That is our Oriki, Omosun Abinu. Anybody shake a loson, koni farare lo. So my father is an Egba man, and my mother is from Owu. So
Owu Lakoda.
Yes, and Omoye, Omajiri, and so on. That's my mother. But the miracle about the boy, Ebenezer Obey, started with the fact that my mother got married to her first husband. And she lived with him for 20 years without having the fruit of the womb. And it was the parents of that husband of my mother that called the family of my mother and said, for 20 years now, they have tried enough. So they said they think it's better that my mother will find her way. So it was a sudden thing that they were not expecting. So because of that, my mother passed through a very bad period. And when the family, my mother's family, saw that that thing was too much for my mother, then they asked my mother, they advised, they counseled her. Don't kill yourself because ẹ̀dá tó mọ̀ la ò sí. Ilé àánú Olúwa kì í ṣú. wọ́n á lọ forí ara ẹ̀ pamọ́ sọ́dọ̀ àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀ ní Dogo. Go and hide yourself in Dogo. Forget about
a man.
Don't kill yourself. And my mother was a good believer. So the pastor in Lagos prayed for my mother. That was how my mother left Lagos for Idogo. On getting to Idogo, my father was a carpenter by profession, very good carpenter. And in those days, they combined farming. So my father was combining farming with the carpentry job he was doing. But my father was a friend of my mother's brothers. My mommy's senior brothers. So when she got there, my father saw my mommy and said, in Egba dialect, "Emi re ma fe àbúrò yín yìí o. A bí ọmọbìnrin mi, a dẹ̀ bọ́kùnrin mi."
Very prophetic.
Yes, so prophetic. That's something that my mother said, me, I don't want to marry a carpenter, but as God wanted it. My mother, who was never pregnant for
20 years.
Got pregnant. And my father said, I be me, I de bokunrin mi. So the first born
was a female.
Was a female. And the pastor in Lagos told my mother, just be praying. Ma gbàdúrà pé Ọlọ́run wọ́n ní mi ò lè bímọ. Oore ọ̀fẹ́ ó tó fún mi. Oore ọ̀fẹ́ ó tó fún mi. And my mother was praying along that line that the pastor directed her to pray. And when my sister came, so my mother said, she told my father, she want my father to want them to name my sister Grace. Well, it was grace that the pastor was talking about. Your grace is sufficient for me. They said, I cannot have fruit of the womb, but you alone I have, and your grace. So that's why they named my sister Grace Olasumbo Amoke Fabi. And then when she was married to Kayede, later on, she has been with the Lord a few years ago. So.
And then you came?
Then I came. When I came, my mother said, me that they said I cannot even have a baby, Iketamosi. The only children you can have, either you have girl, a boy. Kusiketamo. I have the female and I have the.
Man.
So my mother said, she told my father again, let us call this one Ebenezer. Ebenezer is it one this is day in the Oluwa run the Lord day. If you don't run Lord day.
And then Remilekun. Who named you Remilekun?
My father named me Remilekun because my father had only one son. That was my late senior brother. And my late senior brother was 14 years older than me. You can see. So.
It means both of them, your parents had experience.
Yes. It was a kind of breakthrough. So my mother, Ola Mishupo.
Yes, so there's Ola Sumbo, so now Ola
Shupo. But my father always called me Oluremi. All my father's relations, they call me Oluremi.
Up till now?
Yes.
Wow.
So that was how. And now in Idogo.
Growing up in Idogo.
Growing in Idogo.
Yes.
My everything, my mother became pregnant, but came to Lagos for her clinic at Mercy Street Hospital. That was where I was born. And immediately I was born, I was taken back to Idogo. I grew up in Idogo. I started school in Idogo. My everything, just the music, everything.
It started in Idogo.
Started in Idogo.
So really, there is no Ebenezer Obey without Idogo.
Yeah, no, there's no Ebenezer Obey without Idogo.
Without Idogo. Even if Massey Street wants to claim you,
Yeah,
it's
yes.
still Idogo.
That's why I used to say that I was born in Lagos. Yeah. I was made in Idogo. Because my mother and my father slept and had an affair in Idogo. We became
the baby.
But the baby was delivered at Massey Street, Lagos. So I'm a Lagosian. By birth. So, but Idogo. So I'm an Egba man, born in Lagos, made in Idogo. An African, a Nigerian.
Presented to the whole world. Thank you so much for taking us back down memory lane. Sir, going back still, what was that inspiration that made you start a band? Because in 1957, you renamed your band.
Yes. Why? You know, in the school, I was influenced to music through the church choir. My mother told me that I used to trouble the choir. When I was crawling, I would crawl to where the instrument is. She would be carrying me. So much that the pastor carried me one day and said, this boy must become a good musician. Just prophecy. And he prayed for me, gave me back to my mother. So I became a member of the band, the church and the school band. I became the school band leader. Anything music and drama, I was extremely good. And from there, that led to the Boys and Girls Youth Club. In the youth club, we have drama, music. I belong to the drama.
All forms of entertainment.
I was the youngest, but I was the most talented. I do the vocal, I compose.
And it's been like that ever since.
The day they started, they formed the band as a club, Ifelodun Mambo Orchestra. I was in Lagos and I dreamt that, I saw that they bought drums and they are trying to play the drums one by one. But I got there and I started playing the drums and they carried me. So when I called, and the dream came true. I was on holiday in Lagos with my father. The day I arrived with Dogo, that brother is late now, Brother Jimo Akiwande. He said, we have heard that you are going to come from Lagos today. Follow me. I said, let me go and greet my mother. He said, no, you know, when you get to Mama, we will not allow you. My mommy was a very disciplined person. So I followed him. When I followed Mr. Akiwande, exactly as I saw in the dream, drums, and I just started, I picked this one, and they have been looking for wood. When I take the bongo, it was called double toy. Bongo. When I take the double toy, I have memorized how it sounded in Adeolu Akinsany's band. Adeolu then was playing Agidigbo music, Mambo Orchestra. I took it, they just carried me, they shouted. So that was how.
That's it.
And I became the star of that band. But my mother would not leave them. My mother was fighting those people that you are teachers already, they have started teaching. Allow my son to finish his own education. So, and I will not listen. My mother would talk to me, wake me in the midnight. Olasupo, Aremu, Omolakesi, Omoye, mo fẹ́ lulu yìí, àbí o fẹ́, mo fẹ́ jẹ́ lawyer. Kí wọ́n pè mí náà ní ìyá lawyer. Because my mother is from Owu. Mo fẹ́ jẹ́ doctor. Kí wọ́n pè mí náà ní ìyá doctor. Àbó fẹ́ kàn pè mí ní ìyá doctor ni. I said, I will, tó bá ṣoríire fi ìlú yìí lẹ̀, ìwé rẹ̀ ni ó gbajúmọ̀. She said, have you had, she'll be crying, I'll be crying. Promise me, and I said, I promise her. But the following day, when they start rehearsing, she is the one who will call me. Lashiko, I want to see your people have started. Show love. I said, no, I'm not going. When I will watch my mother just run out, I will go there. She will come there, pull me, beat me, do everything. Don't do lie to lie. Above a good pleasure car. Over good pleasure car. Over no low, to ba no low, muno yelu. But I was doing that. My mommy's problem was too much with those people who founded the band, one by one. So by 1957, I now formed my own professional band. I became professional.
1957, you were 15 years old?
Yes, 15 years, precisely 15 years. Before then, I was known, but something I did not take note. When I entered the school in the morning, obey, the atmosphere changes. Teachers were my friend. The fame started then.
But why did they call you Obey?
You need Obey. As then in those days, teachers were allowed to discipline the pupils. If at times we were 30 or 35 in the class, if the teacher taught us something, and maybe 7 or 8 or 10 didn't do well, we then line out. The line out means the teacher wants to punish you. He will say, I'm going to give each of you 6 lashes of cane. Give me your hand. Well, if you give the teacher your hand, but every pupil didn't want to be
caned.
Sorry, sir. Excuse, sir. You want to explain. The teacher will say, obey first and then complain. Give me your hand. After I've given you 6 lashes of cane, you can now explain. He knew that immediately you receive the lashes, you cannot explain, say anything. Yeah. So I was privileged as the prefect, class prefect. They call it prefect or monitor.
Yeah.
So when the teacher line out, so he doesn't want to be, the teacher didn't want to be repeating. So it's, I'm the one who will say, obey first and then complain, obey. That's how, when I entered the school, that's obey. That's how it became my, so it's my compound name. Now. Every say obey Fabi, yes.
Interesting. I thank you for saying star. I remember that when you started recording music, you stuck with one record company.
Yes, Decca was
very tenacious.
Decca.
Everybody went elsewhere. You just remained with Decca.
Yes.
I also know that you later became a director in Decca.
I'm finally the owner of the place.
So how did you get into Decca?
You see, God has his own way of doing things.
Yeah.
When I look back into my life, every path I've treaded in life was ordered by God. Because in those days, it's not like this when we have the technology that you can record. You have to find the company. And on that day, I didn't even have money to go to Lagos. Decca's studio was at Abuloja, close to University of Lagos. It's still there. Their office is at Abiboki in Lagos. I have to trek all the way from Mushin. I still remember from Mushin to Babalosha to Alakija to Dioro, Alakara, Yaba, Oyibo, Nkata Bridge, Udmonta.
All the way.
When I got there, the gate man said I cannot enter. When you trek such a distance, today I'm holding handkerchief, but then it was not. I took my mobile, I stretched it up So the man just looked at me and said, who is this boy? I said, I'm a star, I'm a feature star. I come to record. My record will sell. He said, no, I cannot enter. I said, my record will sell. God entered his heart. He said, okay, go. When I entered, I saw the secretary. The secretary was typing. He didn't even look at me. He saw me like this. He was typing. Good afternoon. My name is Ebenezer Obi. I'm a feature star. I come to record for your company. My record will sell. He will look up like this and he said, okay, I'm sorry. The artist manager is not in. He's on leave. He'll be back in 3 weeks' time. You can call back in 3 days. I track all the way from Mushi and I'm going to track back. I'm a feature star. He said, I'm sorry, you cannot see the managing director. I said, I would like to see the managing director. As I was discussing with that secretary, the managing director just pressed the intercom and the thing sounded on the table of the secretary. So the managing director heard all that we were saying and he asked, what is all that noise about? There's a young man here. He said he's a future star. He said he wanted to see you. I said he cannot see you. He said, the man that said, future star? He said, yes, sir. He said, send him in. I entered. I processed. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ebenezer Obi. I'm a future star. I want to record for your company. Don't pay me. Don't pay me, sir. Pay me after you might have sold my record. My record will sell. My record will sell, sir. The man was so looking at me. I said, don't pay me. No, just, my record will sell. He didn't say anything. He just pressed the intercom again. Mr. Ogumbayo, please come upstairs and see this young man.
The white man?
No, Ogumbayo, CK Crest. That's the manager, the white man. When about Ogumbayo came, I just processed. I started speaking in Yoruba. Sir ni mi o, mo fẹ́ ṣe record fún yín, ẹ má sanwó fún mi. Tí record mi bá ṣe tán ni, I'm a feature star. Ẹ má sanwó fún. The MD did not understand what I'm saying. Before Ogumbayo will say anything, MD said, I think this young man is speaking with confidence. I think we should give him a chance. Then the reporter said, I think so, sir. Then he said that we should record him, we should not pay him, we should pay him after we have sold this record. The manager said, wonderful, wonderful. He said, you are not going to trade back. We give you money for transportation. So they give me 10 shillings. Note, 10 shillings note.
You're already a star.
I'm already a star.
Yes.
So I left that place. I entered bus back home. I left home with nothing. I came back with something. God has been so good to me. And that was it. Then the studio, we have to come for, what do they call it? Audition.
Audition, yes.
They said, bring 4 songs. I have 6 songs. But one thing I want to say, we were not able to enter the studio that day. It was under the tree outside that they listened to me and my band. And it was after they recorded me. And I started going to record store. I've recorded in Dekau because they said there's a day there's a listening day. That day they need to order the records. On the day I was there, I was reminding them, order my record though, it will sell though. And as they were coming, the MD was coming. His staff who was sitting, they have passed me. Features, they reverse. Features, what? I said, I come to tell all the distributors to book my record. They say, no, you don't do that. You don't allow. You go home. You have done your work. When it came to my turn, they must have 500 numbers ordered. Somebody say, I have booked 100, I booked 20. When they add the total, it must be up to 500. When they order my own, remaining 19 to clock to 500. The staff started, they told, said, sir, your future sir didn't make it. What song? He said, remaining 19. The man said, I booked 25. You see how God, if the man did not book that 25, and that was how I started. And from being a star, I became a shareholder. And by the end of the day, I became the chairman I became the owner of this. You see, so my life is, everything about me is God and my music.
There is that theme in all of your songs. The theme of godliness, the theme of integrity, the theme of what the Yorubas will call omoluabi. Like there's something about it. There's always a God factor there. Even before you openly gave your life to Christ and said, this is the path I'm towing, there was always God in it. Who would you say was responsible for that, or what?
You know, I told you that I was influenced to music through the church. Especially my mother. My mother was a very dedicated Christian. Her faith, she has a very strong faith in God. And that's the way that we were brought up. So my mother's influence, because she started taking me to church since the time I was a baby. And that was how I was influenced to music, through the church and the school band.
The other factor that stands out is the fact that there was the rivalry in growing your music. There was the time it was rumored you and King Sunny Ade were not friends, you were not seeing each other. If something was released today, it will release tomorrow and all that. What is your relationship?
Well, I've said this many times.
You have to keep saying it.
And I'm tired of saying it, but anyway, I've said that there was nothing between me and Sunny Ade. I started before him, and he came along to play his own kind of music. I play my own kind of music. He plays his own kind of music. The only thing is that both what we play is called the same juju music. And it was people that were turning whatever I say in my record, and they were turning whatever he says in his record. That there's a rift between me and him. And honestly, there was nothing like that. He used to pay me visit. I used to pay him visit too. So, but when the rumors were gaining much ground, Adelu Akisoya and Anke Dairo, they saw me and they told me that we need to call both you and Sunny Ade together. We're hearing you are fighting. I said, fighting? No, there's nothing like that. They saw him, they said, there's nothing like that. So that's how they summoned both of us. They said it again in presence of two of us. I said, there's nothing like that. Like that. So, but the people were turning, what they were doing that, there was nothing between, it was Adelu Akisoya and Anke Dairo that said, okay, this is what you people are going to do. Both of you record You record a record, Sonny record the record, dispel that there's no fight.
And that's the end.
And that was it. So, what? Until today, people still refer to it.
Yeah, but even recently, both of you performed in
Yes.
the show.
Yes, we did Oleku together. And so there's nothing, it's good relationship.
And talking about performance, there was this generational collaboration.
Yes.
Simi
Yes.
sang your song.
Yes.
And you participated in it. What was that experience like for you?
Well, Simi is my daughter. And she's a very nice musician. When she started years ago, she told me that when she took permission, that she wanted to sing in Mexico. And I gave her permission. And I'm happy the record that record did very well. So it is that I Mexico that we both now do collaboration. And people like that, like it a lot. I feel happy because Simi is a very cool-headed artist. And I love all the artists. They look onto me as father. And I keep that father relationship with them. So there are more to be expected.
Very good.
Because since after that release, there had been
requests.
Yes.
Last year, 2020, there were different kinds of rumors. There was a particular one, obey this, obey that, what's going on? People who even knew that I was close to you say, Kilo Shelesi, Baba, and all that. What really happened?
There was nothing. I was not sick. There was nothing. Nothing happened to me. I was with Bishop Olani, my son, and Pastor Larry Obe.
Yes.
And both of them just instantly, hello, nothing's wrong with my daddy. I'm here with my daddy. There's nothing wrong with my daddy. Larry was, their phone was just, Daddy, they have come again. No. 5 times within a month. But thank God.
I trust in God too. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I am type 2 diabetic. I am type 2 diabetic.
Yeah, same thing with me.
A lot of people don't like talking about their health status. Why? What kind of advice can you give people?
No, you see, I have said it out. Yes. I said that there's nothing about me that I want to hide. And I didn't do that. I've been a diabetic person since 1974. 1974 to this time is
47?
Yes. And the doctors always say that I manage it very well. But it's not me, it's God. Well, I believe so much in the power of God. I use the medicine that I'm supposed to use. I use the medicine that I'm supposed to use. And diabetes can affect your eyes. Yes. It can affect many things. Yes. And that's the challenge, the only challenge that I have. I have done many cataract operation, but I'm well, I'm okay. People rumor at the time that I was blind. I was not blind. Yes. Up to now, the color of your cap, everything, your flesh, the skin, everything, I see everything. What you place in your hands, I see everything very, very clearly. Yes. So the only thing is that it affected my walking. It affected my walking. But thank God, we are working on it and we shall overcome it. Once you can manage it, so that's the most important thing.
Baby mi jọ̀wọ́ jẹ́ ká jọ mí àgbàdùn. Ẹ̀yà tó mọ yá yìí ló ń ṣe kẹ́ ọkọ rẹ̀. Bẹ̀lẹ́gàn bá ń tàn ẹ kó má ṣe gbà. What's the story behind it?
Well, thank you for asking the story behind Olomingbotemi. This is going to give me an opportunity to talk about that part that I've never been saying much. I want to talk about women in my life, which I've never said as I'm going to say it now. Women in my life started with my mother. I'm so grateful for the role that women have played in my life. I'm thanking all mothers, all women, for they are so special. And God have used them. My mother, starting from my mother, Abigail Indemola, wonderful mother. She's the one who made sure that I became what I supposed to become in life. She showed me love, discipline, and everything that she put me through made me what I am today. That's my mother. My late wife, Juliana Olaide, our new family. The right wife that I needed. But I must say this, women in my life, before I became what I am now, as a musician, I shared my own part with women. The love of musicians, God is the one, I believe God is the one who put it in the hearts of me. You know, between Saul and David, when David killed Goliath, it was the women that started singing. They composed songs and they were praising David that David killed thousands, while Saul killed less than. The enmity between Saul and David started by that. It was women. It is what the women saw that they highlighted. That is the life of a musician. You know what led to Olomingbotemi? I have a girlfriend that is called Abike. Then I was moving around. We used to move around nightclubs. We play all around. Then there was this woman called Ashake. You know, I mentioned Abike or Ashake or Ashake. This woman Ashake is older than me and saw me. I said, Ejo Eyinda. I said, and she said, Ejo, Baba Olomamba Ingerui. Money already come by me. And she gave me 10 shillings to give my Baba. I've never met her, I didn't talk to her. God has his own way of sending people to you. I said, I used to give my Baba 1 and 6. I said, thank you, I will give her 1 and 6. Then he brought another £1, said, take this, sir. But this 10 shillings, give it to the Baba. Oman 20 days. ìgbàkigbà tẹ́ bá ti ń kọjá báyìí tí n bá ti rí yín bí wọ́n ṣe ń gẹrun yìí mo kàn like it. I didn't talk to her. She was older than me. I took the I told Baba, God have bless you. One woman said, "I don't get me. Tell her that tell me to tell you 10 shillings." I wanted to give you one and see, but she gave me my own. Me and Baba, the Baba, we joke. That was any time she said, "Egba, boom, Baba." That was how the woman became my girlfriend. Do you know this woman? When I wanted to buy instruments, I told the woman to borrow me 84 pounds to buy an engine, the modern one, that is better than the one that I was using, and a guitar, special guitar, and the woman borrowed me. And I thank her so much. And I promised I paid her. Then, and I kept the money, the 84 pounds. Thank you very much. Oh. This is your money. He said that, he gave me. What am I trying to say? She played that part. Immediately after that, till today, I've never set my eyes on that woman. So by the time I was about to record, Abike was my girlfriend. I added Ashake. Olómi jọ̀wọ́ o jẹ́ ká jọ máa gbádùn. Àyà tó mọ́yá yìí ló ṣì kẹ́ ọkọ rẹ̀. Ẹlẹ́gàn bá tàn ẹ̀kún má ṣe gbà. Ìdùnnú ńlá ní fọ́kọ káyà kó mọ̀ kẹ́ ọkọ. Oríire ló jẹ́ fáyà tó bá mọ̀ kẹ́ ọkọ. Oní tèmi Àbíkẹ́ ni gbọ́ tèmi. Gbọ́ tèmi bèbí gbọ́ tèmi oyè òun lórí. Àbíkẹ́ o, Àṣàkẹ́ o, Àṣàkẹ́ o. That's
the story.
So, like I said, God have sent women to me in my life, and women have played very prominent roles in my life. So that's why I can never forget mothers, and I can never forget women. I can never talk about women in any bad way, but thank God that God finally delivered me from all that one. And the sinner of yesterday later now became a saint. That's what Jesus Christ can do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, finally, sir, as somebody who has been there, who has the kind of experience you have, you became a star at 15 because you formed your own band then. Looking at today's music scene, how would you advise the musicians, the performers, the artists? What would you say to them to guide them in this path, the path that has been very illustrious and profitable for you?
Well, to musicians, I want to say, number one, they must be ready they must have God, they must know God. God is the only one that they can depend upon, who will show them and take them to whatever height they want to attain in life. Then determination, hard work, commitment. That is it. When I was doing all that, we were not expecting money. It was just my hobby. And that's all I just want to do. In my record, ọmọ kékeré ọjọ́ yẹn, wọ́n ní kí ló fẹ́ ṣe, ó lóun fẹ́ lùlù, ó lóun fẹ́ kọrin. Màmá bẹ̀bẹ̀ títí ọmọ kọjálẹ̀ o. Láìpẹ́ ọjọ́ ọmọ di chief commander òbí. So everything, they should just depend on God and work hard. What I see nowadays, the younger ones, is that they are just running about after money. No. If they can solidify themselves, making sure they get the grip of what they want to do, using their gift, their talent, people will know them. In our own days, you play our records, you do all that. This generation, they beg, they did everything to make sure their records are played. It was not so in our own time. How much do we need to give you people? You are doing it. You are looking for our records. You are promoting it. But they just want to be known. And thank God, we have quite a lot of talented. You only need to work hard, and God will see them through.
Okay, and finally now, I want to thank you, Chief Commander Ebenezer Obey, for coming.
You're welcome.
On this program. You're my very first guest on this program, Timeless Conversations. I want to make you a promise. We're going to be back with you next year, God tarrying, and even providing for you, giving you good health, and ensuring that we have people like you who will still guide us in the entertainment and performance industry in Nigeria. Thank you all for watching. Bye.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Politicizing our humanity. You see, Nigeria today has become a den of unknown gunmen. And I say that because for every new report you see now, any news, anything, you see unknown gunmen kills 20, unknown gunmen kidnaps 50. So any small thing is unknown gunmen. And the level of insecurity in the country today has risen. You know, so today we no longer ask whether our lives are, and properties are secured. We only ask who is next to be killed or kidnapped. You know, we check and we see, okay, whose family is next? Which family is going to be thrown into mourning? So right now, Nigerians are only waiting, and we're waiting and saying, whose turn is it going to be? The level of insecurity in the country has become extremely worrisome. The lapses created by government, by the inaction of government. You know, government had the opportunity to nip this insecurity in the bud. You know, when it started, you know, it started like play. It wasn't this bad. It wasn't this bad. But now, because of government's inaction, we are caught up. And it seems as if there's nothing that we can do about it again. So now it is even worse. It is worse that we as citizens are not making enough noise about the right things. We are concerned about some other things. So despite the worrisome state of our dear nation, the plague of politicizing any little thing. You know, we are quick to say, now this party they run amo, now this party they do amo, is because of this party. And so right now, we are trivializing the problems and the challenges that we are facing as a nation. You know, so there are talks all over social media claiming that the violence and actions leading to the high level of insecurity, which now threatens our very existence, are sponsored. Members of the ruling and opposition parties have thrown all caution to the wind, and they exchange blames. It is this party, it is that party, rather than just actually recognizing terrorism for what terrorism is and taking actions to stop the incessant killings and kidnappings, which is threatening the very existence of Nigerians. We must stand united or fall divided. We must stand united. Nigeria is at the very brink. We are at the very brink of war. You know, and I don't think we are saying this enough. I think everyone is just looking at, okay, maybe because the thing never touched me, make we just look at, and everyone is just playing with the situation. The situation has become so dire and would worsen if we do not join voices and actions and implore the government to take decisive actions to protect the lives and properties of the people. We must educate and reorientate ourselves. we must advocate for peace and tolerance. Negative and irresponsible tribal comments, you know, it has no other thing to do than to incite violence. So it breeds this intolerance that we have for ourselves, and this tribe will say, now these people, if these people come out, we could get peace and all of those things. And then we wonder why some people are killing another tribe, and why another tribe is killing another tribe. So I feel we must be able to preach peace and preach unity, you know, if at all we want to see the end of this insurrection. I have always said this, and I think this is time to say it again. In terms of, if we're talking about security, I think the time for decentralization is now. The power that the federal government wields as far as security is concerned is too much. And it would seem that even that power now is overwhelming, such that they don't even know what to do with the power again. Assign state governments with the task of security responsibilities. Yes, at federal government level, there are some powers that you cannot just take away. But let the security apparatus in the police, security operatives that you have, let them be responsible to state governments. Let state governments take charge. Let them take charge. A governor of a particular state will not be looking at while his state is burning, and the governor is crying to federal government to come and help. So what then is the duty, and what then is the work of the state government? You know, we had mentioned earlier, but I'm just going to chip in again, that religious leaders have a role to play. You find religious leaders being totally irresponsible and reckless with the comments that they make